thank you so much. Is this good? Yeah? Great. Oh, I am delighted to be here. I am ecstatic to be here. I am syntactic to be here. And like with all of you, and also these above average stars right here in the front row, each of whom have meant so much to me for, years now. Oh, it's been a while. I thought we would get started with a tongue twister, just to keep you spry before the holiday season really sets in. Refugium compendium. For want, for wheel-rut, limpet deer, after precious absence lent, post-lumpish Eden, was dicey this route you took in all its fatal othered. Damn you, for down your bridal path we went, not hand in hand, not coated, faded, see, once lovers in some other life, not now in hours spent, strived for, or as you do impute, heels nearish stove, crying, where at, wheat ear? Whereupon dawn came, as you never did all those years, those hours, not hours, limbic, out of reach, and on, and dawn came as we, dicey, hissing, lumpish, strode for want the rut so able in its loiter, delicate, as that logjam we waded on as children, articulate, in that vernal stream to break apart and go, was changeable this life for that, these hours for those, some commedia of it on this bridal path, not rushing past, sad perhaps, but only drool, who would go on and disembark, who would only ever age. Look, the wheat ear and her rival lark sweet cantillate what we cannot on this noon of murk, and in their warble wimble murk increasingly, say, for want for foolish well-made coition, quantum, limpid, othering it, but this all is what is none but beseeching makes it so we stroll not hand in hand along the beaches tall, whereat the Vedic wheat ear fusses and she sings. And perhaps she sings this. Song of a Superfund site. I'm sad to say it's possible that there are more of these now than when I first wrote this poem. More Superfund sites. More songs? Of redly murky dielectric trough and soughing pines I sing, at rim of gravel pit on which snow-sick in general falls oblique, loads down these yellow flags, invasive sieves, on which he backslid, combed into the zone where I belong or would by his initial parallax, her pink, taut face ill-matched with single instant of release when one heel snagged a branch aside my sump, she thrust or slipped amid those shafts and shifting stalks or husks dried up from opaque needle ice. But there they go again to shake it off along that split silt fence, much like our thrown sen net, as if this was my want of who he was to me ago. So, if you can't tell, I'm into the pastoral. Maybe postmodern, maybe. Definitely unreasonable. This is an unreasonable pastoral. That cyclically real obstacle, the warm, heavy, instant heart June samples winged over sorghum fields entirely, a floodway series, always wild, female imagination, not civic pride, fat-oiled, my frog-rumored cries for Edna, children gone missing this season, someone sprayed for, like this film, interrupts itself practically, you might trace when feeling cultish by red thread, if necessary, intolerates material fact weekly, heavy breathing, branch crotch, Zoe talks about, the yard, our crop loss, getting old. That red thread might be yours, Robert, an Ariadne thread. Stuck in my brain. So, many of our unreasonable pastorals turn out to not look so unreasonable. They're really manicured, like lawns and other greenery. So this is a poem about a lawn. American. Thin cover. Having wryly put conditions on of love, what can be said? For this that Irma rolls my head from scalar milkweed rods, oblique to downslope creep and young snow patch. One pale finch sips our slough just past 2 half-inch male pipe threads, thin hose, spring-loaded preset valve control, inchoate on square lawn unmowed, dust unsuppressed, some scumbled mess, no spigot oscillates about these narrow brumal shallows tapered under his catalpa, ornamental, painted white, silk cabled off from cinder path we dart cross lots unseen to make the going predicate. Have said the same before, if you recall, that we might downslip in tin washtub Irma squats and Helen's skirts beside, if only now not calved and hipped, too big for this to fail, even overturning all. That Irma is our Irma. I think Irma is here, buried in the bard. Is she here? Is Irma Brandeis here? That's our Irma. Well, we can claim her as our own for a little bit here. An Italian translator, I think, of Dante. She was wonderful. Oh. Here's another lawn poem. She's here? Oh, Irma. Go Irma. IB. Irma Brandeis. Active system. Ran through car lots like belonged, flossy substitute from the start, not to understand just kissing more than open shirts, snakes over turf, hyper-accumulators, roots that propagate laterally, desirable for teas, fairways, soft as chalk, kissing him apart to adequate information. What's a fairway anyway? Reedy roadbed, inadequate aqueduct, heavy metals poured on this which sucks up heavy metals? Enjoy your formal phasms, squeeze my hand hard as it hurts, or fly up with them in a network revival field. Another unreasonable pastoral. Gut flora. Flocks in a jar softens from the sphere of it, the whole sagging thing too distracted to be very kind, which is weary you hurry, my Corey, not wrong about this prayerly in shapewear, cut through here for bringing a case. You again tipsy told her I was nice, very mobilized with hotter eyes all at the top, bottles little assaults on safety, bald baby in her backseat gums, pink pastry, witchy necessary habits flower his chest, how Sharon's secular crepuscular sky gathers to its sky indescribability, then longish in learned airlock entry, together imagined to be rubbed clear everywhere like cleanser. That nasty stuff. Just a couple more lawns. Leisure arts, sisters, brothers. This has a dedication to a couple of poets. One, Jennifer Nelson, who's fabulous, and also Andrew Durbin, a Bardian also. Actually, there are a lot of Bardians in this book. Certain of my emergencies, the personality of modern catastrophe. Pylons into earth gruesomely cut, grass too much cleared away from benches, some cannery glowing up, incredibly gaining the crackle. It's a mark of you alone, so look at sex and think of nothing. See splashings, rowlocks clunk, sunny waist sunk below her line, flashes outprize this noon, like that you went with civic thump, heels proof over stylish, dirigible flusher, twists, curls in yellow short shorts or in the quality of short shorts, how you went our little garden stretches me to him. Are we ready to leave the lawn yet? Perhaps we should always be ready. We are. We'll turn away, turning on an erotic theme. I should say that this started with a bad translation, since we were talking about translation in Colloquium, which probably came from a Robert assignment to be listening for other words inside other languages. Merrily casual our city floats, a catheter lifting sluggish mists, defrost skylight, lower branches trim, satisfies his torture. To be a thought on landscape disfigured, tediously through abbreviation asks, you from cupola, popular but heat-sick come, along dark mountains tremulous with companionship, fizzy air, little story I dedicate, paper wine, alcohol water, Ted's thin ocean juice, vernal beer, your balmy sport, or normal normal saline till finally no field, no time to pin hair straight. Anyway, she leaves before the wedding, like school, not enough dresses, special sleep among some relatives daily wadded up for languor, network television. Ada on the railing has a boyfriend, surly with championship. What a breeze achieves and tangles, scoops my skirt. Hers. You fix as covers after, live Oak's list. It's trying to mean, we stumble. Idiot heart again, healed through abbreviation. Day becomes very different. Foggy trip, an inch more air. Couldn't have been hopeful. Beautiful room so full. This is so few of my books. All right. Perhaps turning further away to the future. Future tires building herds. Where late in future pasture, one day summer selects, something like a family on this clothesline also waits. Familiar, handsome student, midst what grows in tires left, grows as blanched out sticks revive. Thanks a special golden finchness owed Elizabeth, quenches time enough to earn her keep. That red dumb wine, bring it. Your rural dream midday working in my building perks up Willis, votes to live a little better or fail new era of good feeling. For this clean, well-lighted place as Jen's, unequal gray of dough is, unequally gentle in herds. Mary, we saw a deer earlier today. It darted right in front of the car. Well, the car wasn't moving. We were all safe. The deer was also safe. This is a little different. A lot of the poems I've been reading are skinny-ish. This one goes farther across the page. I should say there are lots of shapes in this book. Shapes are cool. Riparian ephemera in October for spring. 1. A rush of ink in the tall grasses, his heft of marginalia in my hands. 2. His hand in her hair on his knee by the bed, her hands in the grass later on, how quick the soup came off. 3. She was a honey with a hand, a balloon on a string, on a day milk mixed with her roe in the weed, vanishing. 4. Never to have picked apart the rock, to have sunk the thumb in marrow deep, in alb, in milky mud as she rode by. 5. At first blush, the fetid crab apples were his in my hands, later crushed upon the walk, later held up to our radiator as it bled. Because it is the season of radiators now. All right. One little short one before I take you on a lengthy journey. Here we go. Ode to the stirrer up of. Here where spring's last pair, I'll start over again. Here where spring's first pair last leapt, primed berries purple bleed, are wet as what melts on my wrist you hold to cool me down against this dray propped at our knoll, gold brown. Though see, uncoupled we, of course, as she of prolix Eros fair is so row-swollen now, not coaxial with Herring Cove, nor my little articulate cairn we built nearby your father's horse farm, horseless now, all mud and forb grown thick within his concrete well-curbed fern blurred. There where those two roads end, looks they've left some tools out in the rain, and in a cleft of rock, my box of paints. All right, so we have the stir up of. We have something like a protagonist in this next poem, and she'll or they'll start to emerge a little bit more here. Recombinant plasma of the pre-dawn star at neap tide. Was out back by those hay swaths where he moored her to the terebinth we climbed, or were recumbent in a go she imagined, as droops dropping clingstones just below one foreshore bob-white heap of mother's maidhood, damp with algae of the cove, since she could no longer sleep, stood up in chasmal soft leaf mold, knee-deep, in air so green with mayflies, his breath rank with crop milk. Say this only once, I'll be your daughter, only fool, who was a boy on some local empty beach, from where she was mere glimpse, simply askance, bold in a bay window backlit. To put a sharper point on it, I did and still grip spider mums. All right. There are a few longer series in the book in addition to some tinier poems. One of them is almost entirely thanks to a hypnogeography essay from our Robert. I will depart from that longer Hawk Visity series for now. Since we have Robert in the room with us, we don't need to visit with the hawk. He's right here. But I will read a few from this series, Fifth Grade Ophelia, which I imagined as a sort of failed idea of an operetta or something. Anyway, there's an unreasonable fifth grader, grown-up fifth grader, here. She's here. We'll visit with her. I'll skip to number 5. Oh yeah, I should say they all start with this same line. Then I was a fifth grade Ophelia. Then I was a fifth grade Ophelia, unkempt or light as a feather, stiff as a board, was prone on the hood of your serviceable car, mare-like stalled, were recondite and shifting shrubs, usually erect, prostrate about her bio-load, sand in our culverts here, as if it neatly added up after winter. Come fill this more out with ideas of causeway, the surf, one contrail with another mingled, two in sky dispersed, too congenitally inept to consummate a thing, who burns up the slash pile, brush, dead pets biennially and walks his property line and marks it off, packs down a filial trail subtly through several deer yards there. Yes, well, I imagined other settings for our unease than this, John said. Of her aunts in Providence we visited, and tanks of cranberries where she lived, was borderline, before was past that trait down noticeably to strawberry blondes, most quiet ones, first cousins before both bogs were drained. You loved your pallid lace and neon nighties, would melt on you should fire break so you won't wear. You love your pallid nighties, not your extended terms of credit, therefore only what I'll use, I'll haul you under awning, arbor-like, half viewable from dock, a non-point source in plum maillot she doubles back and frets upon and cancels local impish gorse out, gaff in her head act eye. Now I'm mortified, John said, available in begonia bed, fat toad my sister landed in, barn snake parts jumping still, chickens by their necks grandmother swung, church clothes still on. I'm mortified, don't have the nerve, won't play boldly against my type, more beautiful than myself. Our central fact, a new sentence is a sentence between two sentences. How religion is, knowing what to practice that day, as if it neatly added up, didn't clog the drains, didn't flood that way or logging road, as if your engine weren't flooded, as if they hadn't drained both bogs but flooded these for harvest, corralled by floating booms, you and I and she, and shook from vine by water reel, advanced to release another, begonia bed on second thought, not paved over clean, lawn extruded through some middle, seduced through several stages of grief, through nodal limbo heparinized, injections of it daily in my middle, prone on the hood of his serviceable car. Whatever's in a contrail makes us see what passed before, maybe moments ago, hours maybe, depends on wind. Wasn't right me dragging her around like that. Wasn't me dragging her around. A few of those actually appeared in a conjunctions, and that was an honor. Oh. What a publication that is. All right, I should say too, I have not done a very good job of talking about the fact that truly this is multi-authored. I mean, there are lots of quotes in here. There are epigraphs all over the place, and lots of people in it. The foremost quoted is one, R. Buckminster Fuller, a childhood hero of mine. So I thought I'd read one of the quotes in here. Think of it. We are blessed with technology that would be indescribable to our forefathers. We have the wherewithal, the know-it-all to feed everybody, clothe everybody, and give every human earth a chance. We know what we could never have known before, that we now have the option for all humanity to make it successfully on this planet in this lifetime. Whether it is to be utopia or oblivion will be a touch-and-go relay race right up to the final moment. He wrote that in 1981. A long time ago. Love letter to my detriment. Dear Adhocrat, whose fresh pressure disgorges from creatures of statute infernal treacle while smokes wait over breasts sunk into our cottage deeper than a pattern in its china, where plushy election requires true blush of petition, please refresh my feeble dress more capable of rippling, so invisible the work to stimulate experience as commitment. Oh, rebarbative hosiery I don not to break with that aroma of diacritical fellowship in vegetal years, spent acring around blustery Americana veil and calisile repubescence, winds persuasive by collection, admitted to cafes downstairs, each calibrative bushel, all sugar bearers, administers bicameral remembrance toward considerable frugality and frugality extinguished, toward every day we are repatriated more and more into the sun, says Dana, and whatever. Toward what we do, extinguishing monstrous debt since sentimental education and otherwise regular harmless hours, lyrical shruggery, unruly sexual lives with gritty lovers and considerably fragile lovers, votive lovers who wouldn't leave that tiny house. Meanwhile, toward chaotic appeal, the ornamental grasses, smartly she swoons in, her disheveled model's feet, and this, capricious business of instinctive worship for power and for the famously de-skilled, are my worries so inscrutable? Toward trusty phalanx warmed in soft clothes on rocks inscribing ocean I had swum its entire articulation, and regular useless kids having everything, meaning nothing, he's drunk again, toward imagining tiny houses and building tiny houses in their yard, fed Bianca's gorilla cart into massive mottled wood, perfecting loyal encounter with collective cake, my clumsy hand split, all your wonderful hair toward vague coffees downstairs, plural complaints, little shapes calculated across a spongy map, roots correctly quilt, even as everywhere in heaps are the oldest trees and children. Writing this only hurts, doesn't it? How can we keep doing already in my beloved yard, relics, slabs, original flavors, constitutive song, buzz no drones, whereas in some tribal yards are drones? How can we stoke this flare system? Toward discovery in dollops of spontaneous suffrage, the future poet grows a variety of bean distilled from our roughage and Anne's simple morning speech. I'll find you the recordings. Dear fragile bureaucrat, whose stylish innocence, whose artisanal ethics the mad farmer, lonely painter squelch, try, like snow melts at the crux of metals, reveal your aerial show in which I'm complicit, and my friends, and our friendship considerably, grouping on kind state with mercurial vitamin sucks at the heart. Neighbor babies in spring's bright muds go where the bones are farther apart, like parochial Valentine cloaked between absolute candles reproduces insufficient song, feeds on what floats up, unites star wreckage, especially Americanan. All right, maybe I'll read a few new things before we wrap up. But first I'll be honest about the title of this book. Got to be honest. I like to be honest when I remember to be honest. So Monkey's Minor Planet Average Star comes from a Stephen Hawking quote, and that's very academic and intellectual, and I love Stephen Hawking, but also it comes from an episode of ER, which you are all probably too young to remember, I'm just now realizing, but it comes from an episode of that too, or that's what brought me to the quote. The manuscript I'm working on now is called Livingry, which is from a Buckminster Fuller quote, in which he is challenging us to move around our technology from weaponry goals to livingry goals, and wouldn't that be nice? So here are a few, all with the same title, much like the fifth grade Ophelia. They all have the same title too, but here are some Katinas. Katina. Routine sun shafts how torn arroyo is bent with greasewood, scant, apterial the scent we learn from exaggeration through compact soil, stipulate Katina. But Jimmy, he talks just as sweet as you, pineapple weed rubbed on your wrist like mother's uncle's ranch, not the worst condition, out linear season. Katina. Other than skin, porphyry story, proper dark among friends, Sean's job is Dan's cream door eye push a cushion against, opening tender office fruit, how docile to apply, away at subsequent lake, leaks purple from the pressure, miniature conservation, shifts, both times reading this, my partner fell asleep. That is a true story. He did. Katina, for B.P. Nickel. Oh, who's awesome. Deeper counting in a soil very impossible to me. Suspects history, its sheer face. I want to be talking strawberries all of the time, a nipple red with language. Madness has many uses not to be frozen. Whole list rushed to the head so you don't sound like anybody over and over. I was just being happy, startling interrelation, things one does not love but country sun designs, a semic embolus before elation, right up against ruthless curation. Too many of us die. There are too many of us. Maybe just a couple more of these. Katina. Rechantingly alpine would I compare how Jacob moves with the moving sun. Lee's mountains outgun a song of terrifying error. The sound is absolute relief. Sorry, we can't have the party, gauze the cake, but a fresh thing, dull thing. Free flowers were one roads the whole way there, everyone working, kisses piling, no churchy meal for wan organizers up ahead I've been disappointing in. Pink heat, unimpervious ilk, requires water's slower dancer. Better the brief goal, early plum. Your sandwich in its paper package, sharply was the storm, flattened all the berries, abolished the job. Just one more of these. Katina. Exhausted the essential lamp, regular friends of steel split up in milliards, words to sit beside like grass blades, her stubborn frock suborns, arterial sluice, chopped from sea, calico dark, with capillary action. Your art eats love, my leaves are sex, murdering associations, singing evidence, insensible water loss, thorough harmony, David dreamed of you in a hurry, systole, yet we flare into credentials, unequal lives, best practice poetry. Oh, innocent alphabet, shimmering with your daytime sense, skims Keston's communication, energy to intelligence. The corn has tasseled up, our consideration boiled over, in golden ribs, a placeful heart from otherwise ineluctable paint. Should we wrap shortly, or should we do a couple more? We'll do just a couple more. Let's just read a couple brand new things that are not tested at all. Just raw, just riddled with errors. Ugh. Okay. The brand new, because there were begonias earlier. I forgot I'd already written about begonias, and now I'm writing about begonias again. Begonia vergüenza. First-rate mullein makes a fire velvet catches, says night includes what you find in it. Veins through earth, modified amber relies on filth from, and ancillary shrub. Glaucus, her political pose was doused with opulent enamel she garishly eggs sentences to sketch. So take a sabbatical from the document. Flip over this dried clot to halt our prose. Admit corolla, however sororal, technically not of pretty petals made, but idle pall peeled back, sepal splayed, showy protection, hinged quincuntial around buds singed, bold, and tightly frayed, bloody needful to formulate slow burn, convinced stodgy vigneron of basically vacant lot, please decant accounts from each experience of survival, impatient employment is over, keys I perch when Molly says pleasure in weakness of any articulation, think knee quake, hear creak, opening or slow breaking, when Natalie says, my vivacious privilege was a portrait of a bad institution. See imperial impetigo, feel wet wound in the school. The verb is rare, but its negative past participle endures, bleats from fine pleat within most faunish pamphlet. Your office of decentered fountains, a mud above sensible trevally, music for moving parts. For Jenny, says, I know I'm not special to feel so separate. Aortic spring, that scrupulous purse, crimson to cusset, some amount cushion against some in lieu of flowers and cohesion. Because I did not realize wildflower begonias don't have petals. The colorful parts are sepals. Isn't that crazy? That just hang on. The wildflower form. Isn't that weird? They're not really petals, technically. So say a few resources. If we trust resources. Okay, one last newish thing. Oh, of course I have to read this. A Bardian is in this. Alana Siegel. Well, yes, another wonderful poet. Or I read this after reading some of her amazing work. You should read it too. Then you'll write a poem. Fire the fallow, farm the mirage. Curling often now he dandles time, that rocky place for our occupation I felt innocent of, round eyes far away, meekly nestled in disappointment. Nostalgia, lichen-laced, is delicious against antique we lust. The mechanism copes, pushes dirt toward copse, road till stars relent new salt, parcel parched, in field office in fescue is, venue for listening to Lou Reed, Leonard Cohen, chimeral kiss, milky tincture of which equals archive, surviving fealty through nakedhood, that is, friendship. High, damp near shadow side of sumptuary, hear pneumothorax and think butterflies. Hear the radio, think medicine, laureate and its Eugenio, please come where I can see, spiritual monocle through which laurels absorb storm, springish bromide, your dream, us foxes feeding on strawberries, or feeding foxes strawberries, or feeding berries themselves, or just the colors, state by state. What angel impulse, basket case mornings plain or arms wrap winged seeds to fool the heart as void does past compensation. Concurrently, nude notebook, joy and rage interannotate, moral mystic embellished past legibility, sugar, auger ink, no truck with endarkenment, whereas my soil hurts, blighted, united in AUMF now, therefore be it resolved. Friends, competent tribunals wanted. We don't give enough. We do need a lot. We don't give enough, grieve enough, share, maybe pennies, very little common gold. Oh, wild raring, sweet evaporate who crests whole fruiting stock. My life is when observation speeds to full sensing of strawberries, hers into violet almost amnesty for hours not spent awing our concentric concentrations, juice at dawn, forensic love, nakedhood. Remember to take your sun medicine, radio talisman, take a walk when Hannah can't cry. It's just a flower made out of clay. It's hard to live in the city. But I'll paper these walls however Jamie wants, dapple whatever we can't paper, play Lou, Leonard, Eric, sit up in the dark in orange wingback, perfect venue for waiting. After all, we all are fruiting stalks, this thorax red into violet, berry pick away past nakedhood, you're sure to miss alphabet, of which baby pleads for chiral kiss, out of the field office and into the fescue, out of the forage grass and into the field, out of the fire and into the fallow, that is, if we plan to go night clear. Bring new salts, berries, warped wingback, paisley tears, our observation has sped up. How terminal each rosette, yet sadness will it go, fast, slow, like water on pavement, pennies in politics, like blame on education, fangled ego and horizontal vision, flocculent like shame on small children, molluscan bullets in desperation, drones not aimed at civilians, like mauvish bromides in rivers flow to every crack along young muds, freeze, break apart, go, that rocky place, or sweet evaporate be, no truck, a do-some thing we watch like, please come where I can see. Thank you, guys.